we need to look at our days as heart schoolers through a very different lens. One benchmark that I always would lean into is I know my child better than I did the day before. So yeah, I may not have gotten through every single thing on my lesson plan, but I had XYZ conversation and God gave me insight into their heart.
Hey everyone, this is Yvette Hampton. Welcome back to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast. I am back again with my friend Leslie Nunnery from Teach Them Diligently, and we are talking about heart schooling, about really getting to the hearts of our kids. And it is my favorite topic. You guys know this. I love talking about discipleship because really nothing else matters if they don't know Jesus. That is the thing that matters most. And so Leslie is the mom of 4 kids. She's graduated 3 already. She's got her last one in her senior year this year. And I love what their family has done. And they've been so intentional about pointing their kids to Jesus and as a family really impacting God's kingdom through the Teach Them Diligently conventions and all the other things. They've got books. They've got, you have so many resources. You have a podcast. We were talking about this during the break, like, you just have so much to offer. And I love that you have a team behind you who helps you to do all these things. It's not just you and David doing these things. So
yeah, that's a huge blessing. As God has opened more doors for us through the years, he has brought some people along who can help. And that has been a blessing. And it's allowed us to do a lot more, which we couldn't, when it was just the David and Leslie show, we couldn't possibly do it. So.
Right. Yeah. Yes. That's how we're the Garrett and Yvette show right now. Our girls help a little bit with what we do, but our oldest is now working outside of the home. Our youngest actually, Lacey, she's amazing. She's only 13, but she does quite a lot of computer work and she works for Garrett, which is so much fun. We love that she has an opportunity to do that. And she works with the podcast. And so she gets to hear from our different guests. And so like she's getting that discipleship even from our podcast guests, and I feel like that's kind of preparing her even for motherhood because she's 13. She's far from motherhood, but it's going to be here before we know it. And just that those little seeds are being planted in her as she is part of this ministry. I absolutely love it. So we're so proud of her. She is doing such an amazing job. So yeah, I joked, I said it would be nice. Sometimes I feel like I need to stand on a street corner and just hold up a sign, help needed, anything helps,
Exactly. Exactly.
Any little bit, but yeah, it's good to have a good team behind you. So anyway, another good team that I know of is BJU Press Homeschool. They really are an amazing team. We have a great relationship with them and they produce and publish some of the best homeschool curriculum. So if you guys are looking for good Christian homeschool curriculum from a solid biblical worldview, check them out at bjupresshomeschool.com. And they've got something for everyone, no matter what grade, what age, what subject, whatever you're looking for, they've got something for you. So check them out, bjupresshomeschool.com. All right, Leslie, we ended the last episode talking about benchmarks. And so we're talking about, kind of that vision that we set for our family, which we've talked about many, many times on this podcast. And we have to cast a vision. This is where we're going. But you talked about benchmarks. And this is something that's really interesting to me because that's not something that we've talked about. Talk through what some of those benchmarks are for, or were, I should say, for your family and what you've seen in some other families who have successfully heart schooled their kids.
Oh yeah, I would love to. Actually, the idea of these different benchmarks was not something that I think I had kind of thought of when I was raising I did them. I was focusing on, or I like passively, they were there. But when I started writing the book, it was like the Lord just said, look, you did this differently. You approach these differently. And it has been a really impactful concept. Because like I said, at the end of the last episode, so often we are gauging our success based on a system that we purposely took our kids out of. And you're never going to feel good about yourself if you're gauging your success against a system that you aren't in. So we need to look at our days as heart schoolers through a very different lens. One benchmark that I always would lean into is I know my child better than I did the day before. So yeah, I may not have gotten through every single thing on my lesson plan, but I had XYZ conversation and God gave me insight into their heart. Or God, I've been praying because this one child I just knew something was off with, and God opened the door for me to see what was going on there. I would have never dreamed what it actually was, but God illuminated that. That's a good day. that is a very successful day as a heart schooler, no matter what you got done in the read and write and arithmetic. If you can get to the end of your day and you say, I know my child better and God gave me opportunities to go for their hearts, that's actually two really good benchmarks. And to really look at. Another benchmark is that you can see that your child is enjoying what he's learning. When daddy comes through the door and it's like dog pile daddy to tell him everything that they went through that day, or you're sitting around the dinner table and the kids are just talk about the things that they learned, the cool, cow killer ant that we discovered on our hike and then researched all day. And they're so excited to tell people about that. That's a really good day, even though, with the cow killer ant, we ran into one of those on a hike that we took when my kids were really little. We spent the entire rest of the day just trying to figure out what that grotesque looking thing was.
Oh, wow.
And then we got so intrigued that we're just like learning all we can about it. None of that was my school plan for the day. But they learned so much. And then what really struck me is when daddy comes home or mom or whatever is the reality in your family, and the kids are like wanting to share with them what they've learned because they're enjoying it, they are teaching, which is the highest form of learning. If they can turn around and share what they've learned, Mama, Daddy, you guys have done a great job, because they are learning it well enough to pass it on. So you're seeing, even if, you have a cow killer day where you don't do anything that you had planned on, but you're seeing that your kids are enjoying what they're learning and they're able to pass on and share that with others. That's a really successful day. Another one that always made me recognize that it was a successful day is if I could look back and say, my children know I'm always available to them. So, they did come to me about whatever it was. And so this looked a little different. And a lot of, so this looked a little different, but that shows that they know that I'm available. I am the one they are coming to for counsel, or when they're afraid, or when they're hurting, or whatever. Yeah. That is a really good day. What I don't want to do, one of the things that Heart Schooling does, is it actually pushes for excellent home education. So I don't want, when I'm giving these benchmarks, they seem a little lopsided, because I'm really addressing some of the areas where moms and dads feel most insecure. Yeah. Like, we tend to force going after the academics at the expense of relationships, and we feel better about that sometimes. But I do want to make the point, to be a biblical parent and to homeschool with a heart school type approach, that requires that you are preparing your children to walk through whatever door God opens for them in the days ahead. And I have found that the better parent I was, the more engaged I was with their hearts, the more their academics excelled as well, for a whole lot of reasons that I'm sure you've talked about a lot on the show. Yeah. But that is something I wanted to point out. The way that we gauge our days, we're always going to go for the hearts of our kids, but because God's plan is best for our families and our call is to go for the hearts of our kids, He works it all out as we are faithfully pursuing Him to where their academics should be excellent as well. Because you'll find that you have enough hours in the day to do what God has called you to. And sometimes learning looks different, but that's okay. And they're still learning and they're growing, and God ties all of those things together in that perfect tapestry that He's making within your family. So you can trust God on that.
Yeah. Can I pause you there for just a second? Because I want to just say, the first one you talked about was knowing them better each day. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, because here's the thing. Nobody knows our kids as well as we do, because we're their parent, right? We are the one who cares about them the most. We are the most intentional with them. However, it is very normal. I don't know that normal is the right word. A lot of parents today who are homeschooling their kids get very, very distracted. And I'm saying this for myself as well. It's easy for me to get distracted by my phone, by my emails, by, text messages coming in, phone calls, all that stuff, or social media, stuff like that. Like, I have had to take social media off my phone completely because I will find myself sitting and flipping through it. It's just straight up nonsense. It's not helping my life at all. all the while my kids are there. But I think that we have this idea that because we're home with our kids, well, of course I'm with them. Of course I'm engaged with them, but you're not always actually engaged with them. And so I think it's something that we need to pay attention to as moms and dads who are home with our kids. That doesn't mean you can't ever do that stuff. Obviously, sometimes I have to work. Sometimes I have to answer the emails or answer the phone calls. That's part of life, but prioritizing our time with our kids so that they really do know that we are present for them. And so that we can end the day going, I learned something new about my kid today, or they shared their heart with me about something. Because if they see that we're busy and distracted, they're going to just turn around and walk away. So just because we're home with them doesn't mean that we're with them. And I think that's an important thing to remember. So let's take a break though. We'll be right back. Have you tried CTC Math yet with your child? Here's a testimonial from another happy homeschool mom. Amber said, I'm absolutely thrilled with CTC Math. It's a rare find that I've used with my children for more than 5 years now. I have 6 children using CTC Math, and each child has found it easy to navigate and very applicable. Thank you so much for all that you are doing in providing quality math lessons for my children. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com. That's ctcmath.com. Are you looking for a homeschool curriculum that goes beyond textbooks and truly engages your children in the joy of learning? Apologia's award-winning curriculum is written by homeschool parents to specifically meet your needs and captivate your students with hands-on activities and experiments that make learning unforgettable. With an easy-to-follow, open-and-go format, Apologia takes the stress out of planning and provides a simple roadmap that can easily be tailored to your family's needs. Explore live classes or self-paced courses designed to accommodate every student's unique learning style. Elevate your child's education, spark their curiosity, and nurture a lifelong love for learning with Apologia. Discover Apologia today at apologia.com. We are back with Leslie. All right, let's keep talking about these benchmarks because these are so good.
I would love to. Actually what you were saying about being present before the break leads right into kind of another benchmark, which is you're able to spend time strengthening relationships with your kids by doing stuff that they love. So getting involved, I actually, my 25-year-old came to David and I, we were talking it's probably been a couple of months ago now, but he had been talking with a bunch of his friends and he was sharing with them how much we got to know stuff that that all of them, but he was talking about himself, were so interested in, whether it be Legos or, basketball or whatever it was. Yeah. David coached, we got on the floor, we got involved in the stuff that they were very interested in. That to my 25-year-old son was still worth noting to his friends that we had done. He came and he thanked us for it. Which was just amazing. What a joy that was. But to actually spend time looking at the things that interest them, getting involved, come to know them. I mean, we learned so much about card trading games and, some video games. And I started running the volleyball program for our homeschool group because my girls played volleyball. David did the same on basketball. We were trying to deep dive into the stuff that was important to our kids because that shows them and it strengthens those relationships with them because they see that we care about what they care about. Yeah. So when we're able to show them that we care about what they care about, then as the things that they care about get more deep, more, impactful, like I care about this girl. We're still the ones that they're going to come to for counsel because they know that we care about the things that they care about. So taking the time in your day to get in the floor, build that Lego set, play. Peyton went through a time when he was really refining his chess game. So I'm terrible at chess, but I played a lot of it during that time. Or he was how fast he could do a Rubik's Cube. He would get it down to, he was like a minute Rubik's Cube solver. Wow. Probably less than that. He's probably horrified that I would say it was a minute. But sitting there, how do you do that? What is the algorithm? Just really trying to get to know what excites your kids at that time gives you so much more of a platform to have those heart conversations But again, because God's ways are perfect, that also gives you a much better inroad as you are teaching those subjects.
Yeah.
So that relationship element makes everything so much better and so much easier. So that is those strengthened relationships are a real benchmark that you can shoot for.
Yeah. And that starts so young, being involved with, like you talk about Legos. I mean, there are teenagers who play Legos too, which is awesome. But whatever your kids are doing, if they're, 3 years old or 4 years old, from the time they're itty bitty, just being present with them and playing baby dolls with them, playing cars with them, playing outside and going for walks and discovering God's creation. I mean, there just are so many ways that we can be intentionally involved with our kids and show them that we're interested in what they're interested in. I think one of the things that's hard about parenting sometimes is that we want our kids to be interested in the same things that we're interested in because it's how we're made up, right?
Yeah.
And then they're interested in something completely different that's completely foreign to us. Our daughter is playing volleyball now this year, and I absolutely love it. And I'm still like trying to figure out the rules of the game and all the terminology and stuff, but it's so much fun because it's something that's new. And she is like, this is like the greatest thing that's ever happened in her life. I mean, she just absolutely loves volleyball. And so it's fun to see her excitement and to be able to just go sitting in practices with her and watch her improve. And so anyway, it is from the time they're itty bitty, it's so important for us to show them, because you're talking about them bringing home that boy or bringing home that girl. If you have not been intentional in building that relationship and that trust with them, they're not going to all of a sudden be like, hey, Mom, can I talk to you about this? What do you think about this person who I might spend the rest of my life with? You've got to spend their whole childhood building that up. That's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being engaged in every part of their life. And actually, that leads very easily into kind of the fourth mark of a heart schooler. We've been through, just since we're in a new episode, the first three are recognizing your call. The second one is realigning your thinking with your call, refining your vision and what you want to see within your family, kind of backing into how that looks. And then the fourth one is you're going to focus on the relationships that matter most. That's where that idea of being present. And so like you were noting so beautifully earlier, just because I'm in the same space as my kids doesn't mean that I'm present with them.
Right.
And so often we give our children the impression that they are fourth, fifth, sixth down the line, because every time a notification goes off, or, I get a Facebook message, or, I sit there and scroll reels because they're funny, or whatever it is, I'm showing them by my actions that the relationship with them is not as important as the relationships that I'm trying to go after with these imaginary people that they can't see right now.
Yeah.
And so, and that goes both ways, because remember, we're going to, as your kids grow, you're going to be giving them what a healthy tech lifestyle looks like as well. So we always told our kids that God put our family together the way that he wanted to. He is wise, he is good, and nobody outside of the six of us did he put in our house. So they shouldn't have access to our house at all hours and anytime they want to, because that's not how God created it. But if we tell them that, trying to give them a healthy view of technology, and yet we're giving people access to us 24/7, that's really communicating that they aren't as important to us as we think we should be to them.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think all of us struggle with. The media that's coming at us, the pressures to keep up, a lot of which are self-imposed, are really hard to get past. So, focusing on the relationships that are there, and that includes your marriage. We spend a lot of time talking about marriages. In fact, we have a Heart School Parents Intensive that's just getting started. Well, the next round is just getting started. And we spend a ton of time just trying to shore up marriages, because if you're not focusing on that relationship, none of the others are going to be as good.
Yep. Agreed. And teaching our kids to have relationships by us having a relationship with them will take them so much further into their adult life, because you watch these kids today and they don't know how to have relationships with one another, with their peers.
Right.
You'll see a group of kids sitting at a table eating dinner and they're all on their phones. It's so weird to me. And so, yes, we need to set that example, and we're not perfect at it. We're still learning. It's so weird because I feel like even though phones and social media have been around for many years now, I feel like we're still trying to kind of navigate what that looks like and what the effects are going to be of it with our kids. And so it's tough. We oftentimes in our family have to reset and go, okay, we're spending way too much time on our phones. It's time to put them down and just communicate with each other with our voices, not through texting.
Well, and honestly, we have found that the chief offenders have been David and I. Our kids have a much healthier view of tech and handle on their tech, probably because they had rules on them. We didn't have the same rules on us, but we are the ones that God often impresses, you're out of line again, you're out of line again. Yeah. And when he does, we have a great opportunity to say God is convicting us and to come to them and say what we're doing wrong. Again, discipleship moment there. So God is in all of these details, and his plan is so good for families and so perfect when we just fall in line with it.
Yeah. Amen. All right. We have time for one more. Let's talk about one more benchmark.
Great. The next one is realizing your potential as a parent. Everything that you hear is downgrading to parents. All the TV shows. I wouldn't want to have most of the sitcom parents because they're doofuses. Yeah. They're just not good people a lot of times. But God put you, whether by birth or by choice, God put your family together. You are the perfect parent for that child. And even secular research backs up. When I've got a study in the Heart School book that talks about how the University of Madison, Wisconsin released this, I believe. But when they studied public schools, and they said the single greatest indicator of a child's success academically was the level of involvement of their parents. Yep. So even if your kids are in a public school, it's still you that has the greatest impact on them from an academic standpoint. And that doesn't even touch emotional, spiritual, social, all those other things. So recognizing your potential and not trying to parent by fear. I'm so afraid I'm going to mess up. I'm so afraid I'm going to lose them. I'm so afraid I'm going to do something stupid. Right. But rather parenting by faith, recognizing that God put your family together. You are the parent, and trusting as you're walking, drawing closer to him, like we talked about earlier, that he's going to grow you in a way and be faithful to grow your family.
Yeah. Yep. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding.
Amen.
It's hard. Parenting is hard. We're not going to have all the answers. We're not going to do it perfectly. But when we trust the Lord, he does it with us and for us. I mean, he goes before us and he helps guide us and lead us. And we're still going to fall. We're still going to make mistakes. And that's okay. And you talk about going back to your kids and asking for forgiveness. We've had to do that many, many times. And that's okay. They understand that we're not perfect, but being humble enough to do that, I think speaks volumes to our kids so that they can go, okay, we know mom and dad aren't perfect, but there is one who is perfect, and he is the one who is guiding us. So much good stuff. All right. We've got more to talk about, but we are out of time. We will be back tomorrow to continue this conversation with Leslie. Tell our people one more time where they can find you.
Absolutely. I would love for you to find us at teachthemdiligently.net. We're also on all the social medias, either Teach Them Diligently or Teach Diligently. But we would love to connect with you in all of those places.
All right. Thank you so much. Stay tuned to the very end to hear a clip of what's coming up next on the podcast. And if you guys have not yet listened to my husband Garrett's new podcast, The Thinking Dad, check it out, thinkingdad.net, or we'll put a link to it in the show notes, and you can find it on any podcast app, or you can find it on our YouTube channel as well. He does his as video and audio, just like we do the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast, which, by the way, if you don't know, if you're listening to this and you don't know that you can actually watch these interviews, you can watch them on YouTube. And so subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it with your friends. We love you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.
We've got an urgent situation. If we knew we were in a war zone, which we are because we live in the middle of a spiritual battle, we would not say, well, let's take a few days off while the battle's going on. We're called the spiritual battle. Let's step up and take responsibility for that.
Even if we're able to push the evildoers and the totalitarians back for another generation, if they've got the young people, it's over.
I often think about Daniel's parents, who you don't hear anything about. But they must have laid down the foundation for Daniel to be able to go into Babylon and not fall.
This is Garrett Hampton, host of The Thinking Dad. Join us for the first season at thinkingdad.net.
There's a statistic we talk about a lot. I think Focus on the Family came out with it, that the average family spends 34 minutes a day of quality time, or the average parent does, of quality time with their children, which seems so absurd to me until you recognize, oh, wait, if they're sending their kids off to school, they're getting on the bus super early, they're staying after probably for practices or lessons or something like that. Then they have a couple of hours of homework.
Right.
Odds are they're not eating dinner together because they're all going in different directions.
Right.
That 34 minutes a day of quality time, and that's on average, they're not even getting that sometimes.
Right.
Is like shocking, but you can get there pretty easily. Well, you can't disciple someone that you're not with. You cannot impact the life of someone that you are not doing life with.